Let's see what we have for fall 2023. Ooh, Shield Heroes coming back for a third season. Nice, nice. Goblin Slayer's coming back for a second season. I thought that was just going to be a one season show. Yeah, and the Eminence and Shadows coming back too. Yeesh. We got Freyren that's being adapted. Nice. I never read the manga, but I heard that it was a great one. And we have Peak Harem. Fall is looking pretty stacked compared to summer. Hello there. I'll be your loser for today. My name is Lacey, and nearly every anime this season got released, and I'm going to cover the ones that I have watched. Just a quick reminder, none of these shows are done yet. I'm basing my opinion on the first few episodes, so if some of these shows that I say are good turn out to be shit later down the road, that's unfortunate. Also, I'm only going to be covering the new shows. So, let's kick this off with arguably the most popular new show this season, Frieren.
Just a quick warning. I'll be spoiling pretty much the first two episodes of Frieren. Well, not exactly spoiling since this is roughly the synopsis of the show. But I'd say it's best to go into this show blind. Frieren is about an elf that lives for a long time. Like most elves do. We follow her journey after her. And her party have defeated the Demon King. Since time is less of a problem for Frieren. Due to her being an elf. 10 years feels like nothing to her as she starts to feel like she barely knew who her party members were. Frieren and her party reminisce about their best moments. The hero party consists of Frieren, Himmel, whom wields a sword, Hyder, who's a priest, and Isen, who is a dwarf Viking. After the share memories from the adventures together, Frieren decides to go her own separate way, and does not come back until many years later. Frieren comes back to the village because she remembered that she left Himmel a dragon horn which she needs for summoning. When she arrives and meets Himmel, she realizes that humans age much more quickly than she does since Himmel is now a fossil. The party has one final memory sharing session, while all four of them are alive. Unfortunately, Himmel is the first one to pass away due to age. And this is when Frieren starts to feel like she barely remembered who Himmel was, and gets sad over it. After Himmel's funeral, the three remaining heroes go their separate ways once again. Frieren now goes to meet Hyder a few more years later, where she meets a little girl who we found out is Hyder's adoptive daughter named Fern. Hyder wants Frieren to look after Fern when he dies, so she can mentor Fern and improve her magic, which Frieren eventually agrees to after witnessing Fern's potential. After Hyder passes away, Frieren and Fern are off on an adventure, not with any goal in mind, just to go on an adventure similar to the original hero party.
If you haven't already watched Frieren, do it. You'll be doing yourself a favor. It's definitely one of the best shows this season. The story is beautiful, the animation is also beautiful. Everything about this show is god tier. You definitely need to watch it. Let's see what we have next. A witch that looks like a little kid who finds a baby in the middle of the woods that grows up to be a beautiful young lady that everyone thinks is the Lally Witch's mother. Oh boy, this sounds terrible. And sounds like it can possibly put me on a watch list. Best be careful on this one. Wait, this show is actually kind of wholesome. And it showcases a mother daughter relationship that isn't too questionable. Ooh boy, we dodged a bullet there. Yes, this is the family circumstances of the irregular witch. And although it is a pretty stupid show, at least it's not going to put anyone on a watch list. The daughter being very overprotective of her mother gets pretty annoying, but overall it's just a goofy show with no real plot. Just a bunch of random shit happening. What's next? An MMO anime. We don't get too many of those. I'll give this one a shot and let's see how it goes. This guy named Hizutome likes to find the shittiest of VR games and beat them. Even though most of them are broken and buggy, he finally beats his new shitty game and goes to find another one. There, the store clerk offers him a new game called
Shangri-La Frontier!
which is not a shitty game, and instead is a great game with superb controls and no glitches to speak of. Hizutome buys the game, and first things first, he has to create a character. He sells his armor and puts on a mask to cover his face, and he names himself Sunraku. Sunraku is super skilled at the game, thanks to him being able to complete trashier games with garbage controls. Never mind the story for a moment. Why the fuck did they give the MMO anime some of the best animation this season? Like, seriously, this is some of the cleanest fight scenes I've seen from this type of genre. And I've seen people hate on this because of the whole video game thing, and there's no stakes. Like, he won't actually die, so what's the point? But, like, I don't care about that. I just want to see a half naked Birdman fight some monsters and get overpowered. A show about someone playing a video game and these fight scenes are cool and all. But you know what I want to see? I want to see a show that's just about normal people doing a tough job. No superpowers, no special technology, just some normal ass people in tough circumstances. Wait, we have one of those this season? Indeed, we do. Meet Firefighter Daigo, a show about firefighters doing firefighter things, training, saving rescue dummies, and simping over the sole girl on the squad. Onada Shun is a man who wants to be a firefighter. At the training, he meets Daigo, who is at the top of his class. I mean, he's so good that he's the title character. We also meet Nakamura, the only girl in training, and feels like that makes her need to train harder in order not to be outshined. This show shocks me at how unpopular it is. Like, literally, no one is watching this, and I'm not sure why. I think it's a great show so far, and it's weirdly unique to just see normal people doing a hard job in anime. You know, Shangri-La Frontier and Firefighter Daigo are great action shows and all, but I want to watch something dark, something edgy, something that'll make me listen to My Chemical Romance on repeat. A show about dragon slayers and a child possibly being skewered. Perfect. This is Ragna Crimson, a show where dragons and humans have been at war with each other, and the dragons are winning. Ragna's entire family, or at least the ones that brought him in, have died due to the dragons, and everyone hates him now since they think Ragna is bad luck. That's when he meets Leo, a 12-year-old girl who is somehow the number one dragon slayer. Ragna takes care of Leo and vice versa. While Ragna tries to become stronger, one day he gets a premonition of Leo dying and calls his future self so current Ragna can take some of future Ragna's power, since future Ragna is super OP. This works, and current Ragna is also OP now. He meets a dragon called Crimson, who, despite being a dragon, also wants to eradicate the world of dragons. This show is pretty good so far. The art and animation are decent, the characters are likable, and we can add another tally to the types of Slayer anime. Ragna Crimson is a pretty edgy show, but I'm craving more. I want more bloodshed. Ooh, a show about a guy being abused by holy knights. Doesn't sound like much, but let's get into it. Berserk of Gluttony is about our MC, Fate Graphite, as he gets abused by most of the Holy Knights because they think he's weak or something. I don't remember. Anyways, legendary Fate Graphite wants to pick out a sword for himself and comes across a black sword that's dirty and roughed up. Fate Graphite realizes that this sword can talk and is named Greed. who coincidentally is the key factor into improving his useless ability. What's his ability? Hunger. Yes, poor Fate Graphite is always hungry, and no matter how much he eats, he is still hungry. Fate Graphite is also on good terms with the sole holy knight that doesn't abuse him, Lady Roxy. As Roxy chased down a criminal down a tunnel, another one came out of the tunnel to which Fate Graphite kills, and realizes that he just awoke in his true power. You see, there's two ways Fate can control his hunger, by eating or by killing. Eventually, I think just killing, but that's a little bit later on. Somehow, Fate also has telepathy that he can just turn off or on, and that's basically it. How is this show edgy? Well, his eyes turn red when his power activates and he kills goblins. He also gets a black and red skull mask, which is super cool and badass and does not look strange at all. I mean, my guess is that killing goblins and other monsters won't be enough, and Fate will have to kill humans, but we'll just have to wait and see if I'm right. So far, this show doesn't seem too special, but I do like the dynamic between Roxy and Fate, and the action is alright. Not nearly as good as Frieren or Shangri-La Frontier, but it's passable enough. What's next? Hopefully, we have a nice, wholesome show coming up. Oh boy, I was dreading this one. Okay. Maybe that's a bit of an overreaction. This show isn't that bad so far. It's just what I think the show will become that makes me worried. This is the Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy, a show about a Dark Lord who, after 1,000 years, wakes up in the body of a 10-year-old. Yeah, you can probably see why I'm a little nervous now. Leo finds himself in a new era that has new weapons, new technology, and no sorcery to be found. He comes across a girl pretty quickly who is fighting off voids, creatures that have nearly destroyed humanity. Curious about this new era, Leo enrolls in Excalibur Academy, a school that trains the students to fight the voids. That pretty much sums up the show. But it's not the plot itself that worries me. It just seems like your standard fantasy isekai plot. No. It's the fact that pretty much every other character is a girl. Usually a busty one at that. And I'm worried that they're gonna try to give this 10-year-old boy his own harem with these girls that are like 5 to 6 years older than him. Also, this isn't relevant to the show, but why is there so many characters named Leo this season? We got one in Ragna Crimson, we have one in this show, and I'm fairly certain we have more later on. Well, it doesn't matter. What matters is watching shows that may or may not be a waste of time and energy. So let's continue. Next up, we have another sleeper of the season, Miki and Dolly. Another show that didn't have much hype around it, but I think it's a pretty good show. I'm gonna keep it brief since I don't want to spoil anything. An older couple goes to an orphanage to adopt a child. They can only take one child, though. As they're leaving the orphanage, they spot a young, beautiful boy, their words, not mine, and after seeing that he is also kind hearted, they decide to adopt him and give him the name Hattori. Or that's the fake alias he gave himself. I don't remember. Problem is, Hattori has a twin. They both couldn't be adopted, so they had to hatch a plan to make sure at least one of them did, while the other travels along and hides from their new parents. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. Anything else, and I'd spoil the story. Miki and Dolly is a weird show. Not weird as in confusing or bad. Weird in a way where I have no idea where it's going. Sometimes it's creepy, sometimes it's a comedy, and the music also flip flops between being suspenseful and cheerful. I do say that you should watch it yourself, though. The author has sadly passed away due to cancer, and she also made Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto, which I've never seen, but if the comedy is similar to this, I might give it a shot. Ever noticed how there's so many anime with long ass titles nowadays? I wish we had simple one word titles that flow well into reviewing shows. This is Shy, a story about superhero with social anxiety. On the brink of World War III, individuals from around the globe have appeared to maintain peace. Japan has a hero named Shy, who is very socially anxious about everything. Although, she is still a great hero and still does her job and saves people. She's also a middle schooler, which is weird considering every other hero introduced so far is a grown adult. That's about it for the synopsis, but I do want to say that I love how every hero seems to be a stereotype of their country. Japan's hero is introverted and socially anxious. Russia's hero drinks vodka and is constantly drunk. Britain's hero looks dead inside. The American hero better be dual wielding guns and wearing a cowboy hat. Let's move on to a show that possibly has a gay lead to a show that 100% has a gay lead. Alright, heads up. The next show I'm about to cover might be my first hot take this video. So, yeah. I'm in love with the villainess is the Yuri of the season. I'm aware that there is another Yuri this season, but I'm not watching it. And honestly, I don't like this show as much as I thought I would. Don't get me wrong, I love this type of stupid, fast paced humor, and I do like a majority of the characters, except for the main character, Ray Taylor. This show starts off with this girl, she works at an office, and then she somehow ends up in her favorite Otome game. Surprise, surprise, she tries to romance the villainess instead of the guys. And now you know the plot. I really wanted to like this show. I just hate Ray as a character. She's annoying, and she should probably be arrested for harassment. And it's not even a romance so far. It's literally said that Claire doesn't have any romantic feelings for Ray, and is even creeped out by her constant harassment. I know they're probably gonna pull some romance anime bullshit like Ray and Claire have a heart to heart, and then Claire ends up having feelings for Ray. But for right now, it just feels like I'm watching a stalker stalk their prey. That being said, though, I'm still going to be watching this in hopes that it will become an actual romance and not a Netflix documentary. Maybe I'm just being unfair to this show since everyone, mostly, seems to really enjoy it, but it just seems kind of creepy to me. Anyways, enough of my rambling. Let's move on to the next show. Ron Kaminohashi's Forbidden Deductions is finally another normal detective show.
日々追い詰められる人間の気持ちがお前
ここから飛べ。
Well, mostly normal, anyways. Ishiki is somehow a detective, despite how incompetent he is by himself. His boss basically tells him to fuck off every time there's a new case. Feeling useless, Ishiki goes to meet Ran Kaminohashi, a landlord who used to be number one at a detective school, because some old man recommended Ishiki to meet Ran. Ran used to be this well-kept looking dude, but when Ishiki finally meets him, Ran is now looking like a hentai protagonist. Ron spends all day cooped up in his room now. Even though he does want to do detective work, Ron can't due to his illness. What is his illness? I won't spoil it. However, I highly recommend this one. And again, I'm a sucker for detective and mystery shows, so this is right up my alley. Kami Arabi, huh? Wonder what this show's about. A game where competitors have to kill each other and become God by the end. Wonder where I heard this one before. Well, the show sounds interesting enough. Let's give it a watch and let's see if it's different from all the other Death Game anime. Oh no, it's CGI. The horror. Okay, okay. On a more serious note, this show isn't actually that bad. Ignore the rating on Mal. That's most likely people rating it low because of the CGI rather than the actual plot. And honestly, I don't think the CGI is even that bad. Like, it definitely looks strange, but it could look way worse. Like I mentioned briefly, it's about this guy named Goro who gets a message that he thinks is spam. He puts jokingly that he wants to have sex with his crush. I mean, that's what it says in the synopsis. It says it way less vulgar in the actual show, but whatever. And surprisingly, it seemingly works. However, his crush is just playing him and is also part of the death game. And then she tries to kill him. And that's where I'll leave the plot. Yeah, it's nothing new. It just sounds like Darwin's Game and a future Diary collab. But I think it's a pretty alright show. The powers they have are cool. That's pretty much the only compliment I can give. His friend is a pretty fun character, I guess, but everyone else is kind of annoying. Goro is the coward who doesn't want to kill people despite them trying to kill him type of character. His crush just kind of pisses me off for some reason. And Lal, who's Goro's companion or something, reminds me of Navi. Speaking of Legend of Zelda for a minute, Lal kind of looks like a Legend of Zelda asset. Doesn't matter. Just wanted to mention it. Anyways, let's continue. There's been a lot of action and bloody shows this season. It's like we don't even have any cute and wholesome shows to speak of. So, let's see if we can find one. Ah, here we go. 16-Bit Sensation is about this girl who, despite her childlike appearance, is somehow 19 years of age. She also works at a video game company where she works as an illustrator. Or, well, she wants to work as an illustrator. I don't think she actually works as one in this company. Konoha also has an obsession with cute girls and bajoujo games. Quick reminder, I'm probably going to butcher the fuck out of the word bajoujo, so if that annoys you, then too bad. One day she buys a bajoujo game from an old lady who owns a game shop. Thinking of the golden age of these types of games, Konoha opens this game, and somehow she ends up in the past, specifically the year 1992, which is coincidentally the golden age of Bashoujo games. There, she joins up with a new game company called Alcohol Soft, where hopefully she can finally create games that she wants. Only problem is, this is the 90s. The technology back then was obviously not all digital yet, so Konoha has to make with the greatest of software, Microsoft Paint. And that's the plot. This show is nice. I generally have a nice time watching this. However, the one thing that does annoy me is Konoha's voice. Nothing against the voice actress. I just hate how high pitched Konoha's voice is. And they make her scream and cry a lot. I know it's meant to sound cute and some people love this kind of voice, but I don't know. It always just kind of annoyed me. Other than that, though, I love this show. Sure, it's another company working together and getting along with each other type of show, which isn't anything new, but I like this one. It's charming, and it's about a video game company. Nothing else to really say. Anyways, let's see if we can find any more cute and wholesome shows coming up. Let's see, do we have any more cute shows? I'm giving the disgraced noble lady a crash course in naughtiness. What kind of naughtiness? We ain't going into any etchy, right? I'm glad to report that no, we are not. Or maybe unfortunately for some of you. This is an innocent, cute, and wholesome show. Alan is a wizard who lives deep in the forest, who was given the title Demon Lord because people are scared of him. While Alan was wandering the forest one day, he found a girl named Charlotte, who, despite being an innocent girl, was accused of doing evil deeds, had her engagement broken off with, and was chased out of her country. Alan hears Charlotte's circumstances, which reminds him of his own past, and he wants to help Charlotte by teaching her how to be more naughty and to live her life a little more. What are these naughty things? Well, they ate cakes for dinner and they went on a shopping spree without a budget. I really enjoy this show and I don't know why. It's nothing special. It's just refreshing to see a show this wholesome after watching all this bloodshed and action. Plus, I'm pretty sure this show is going to turn into a romance, which is pretty cool. We don't actually have many romances this season, and the ones we do have are not exactly legal. Anyways, let's continue. Let's cover one more cute and wholesome show before we get back to action territory. The Yuzuki's family's four sons is, well, about four brothers. After losing their parents, the Yuzuki boys are now living their lives together as a family of four. Hayato, who is the oldest brother and is out of college, Mikoto, who is the second oldest, who is the calm and collected one, Minato, who isn't too much younger than Mikoto, and is also the more energetic one, but is also clumsy and awkward, and finally, Gakto, who is the youngest and is a first grader. Despite this, Gakto is still more mature than Minato. That's pretty much it. From there, it's your standard slice of life anime. We watch the four boys as they go through their daily lives as a family, watching the younger ones go to school, and whatever else they have in store for us. I like this show. It's nothing too crazy or special. Matter of fact, you can probably list off multiple shows like this. But it's that simplicity that I like about slice of life shows. I recommend this to slice of life enjoyers and or people who just want to watch something to kill time. Well, we had our break. Time to get back into the exciting action shows. Under Ninja is a show about modern day ninjas. Let's get a little bit more specific. A high school loner is given the part time job of a lifetime as a modern day ninja tasked with performing international assassinations. And honestly, that's where I'm gonna leave it. You don't really need to know anything else. It's just a ninja versus ninja show. You get introduced to multiple ninjas, a Russian foreigner, a fat man, and more coming up. I really like this show. It's got my favorite type of humor, which is dry humor. And as much as people said this art style and animation is ugly, I actually think the art fits well and would probably make for a good horror aesthetic. The action itself could be better, but it's passable. I like the characters too, especially our main man Kudo. He is everything I want in a dry comedic show about ninjas trying to kill each other. Is it possible to have a villainous anime that doesn't say that it's a villainous anime? Well, we have one. Tear Moon Empire is a show about Princess Mia, who has done something that warrants being publicly executed. We follow her final moments as she's thrown in a prison cell for 3 years, and slowly Mia becomes a hollow husk of her former self. And then it's time for the guillotine. Just as the blade falls and chops Mia's head off, she wakes up back in her body as a 12-year-old. Now, thanks to the second chance, Mia will now try to change her future to make sure she doesn't have to go to the guillotine again. I hope you weren't expecting a revenge plot or a more serious story, because as soon as she travels back in time, the tone immediately shifts to a comedy shoujo. Honestly, I'm on the fence with this show. It's not bad, it's just generic. I heard a lot of praise for Tier Moon Empire, and I decided to give it a watch. And I can see why people would like it. It's just not my cup of tea. However, I do like the gag of the narrator taking blows at Mia every now and then. I always like when shows do that. But hey, at least it's not an isekai. Which, speaking of, we haven't actually had many of this season. Maybe Japan is finally listening to anime fans and are slowing down on isekai. What in the fresh hell is this? Oh, whatever. In for a penny, in for a pound. This is Budareba, the story of a man who turned into a pig. You heard that correctly. Another reincarnated as a random thing anime. First we had a slime, then a sword, then a dog, then a dummy head microphone, then a vending machine, and now we have a pig. This show is about a man who eats a raw pig liver and dies of food poisoning, then reincarnates in a fantasy world as a pig, where he meets a girl named Jess, who can read his mind because she's a Yethma, and Yethma are telepaths, I guess. And that's basically it. The synopsis does mention her planning to eat him as well, but in the 3 episodes that I've watched, I haven't seen any mention of that, so I think they might have clickbaited us a bit. I don't know if it's my brain turning to mush from watching all these types of shows, but this one isn't actually terrible. Don't get me wrong, it's still questionable, with scenes and dialogue I wish didn't exist. But at least it doesn't go full bestiality like a certain show that will not be named. And it's a fantasy world without magic, which is always pleasant to see. Let's cover another isekai because why not? I Shall Survive Using Potions is our next fantastical journey of an office worker named Karu who dies after God made an oopsie. As an apology, the god has Kawu reincarnate to another world where she meets that world's goddess. Kaoru asks for two things: to look young but old enough to be legally considered an adult, and the OP ability of making potions that can do anything she wants. That's right. She legit has the power of imagination. She can do way more with these potions than she has done so far. That's about it. The show itself is meh. Just a cute isekai similar to a show that aired in winter called Saving 40,000 Gold for My Retirement. Nothing much to really say. The only character of notice is really Kaoru herself. She has a fun personality, and I always enjoy a smug female protagonist. You know what this show needs to be complete? A workplace comedy show. We have one. Let's fucking go. My New Boss is Goofy is a totally not gay show about this dude, Momose, who left his last job because his boss was a dick. Momose gets a new office job where his boss is a straight-faced and looks competent. Momose is scared that his new boss will also be a dick to him, but fortunately, that is not the case. Shirozaki gets embarrassed very easily and makes a few dumb mistakes every now and then. In other words, he is goofy. I like this show, and might even be my favorite slice of life show this season. These types of anime are always comforting. A show of just bros hanging out and being totally heterosexual. I say it's similar to the Yuzuki Family one, where it's not a must-watch show, but it's just a nice time killer show to watch if you're bored or sad. Oh boy, this one was at the top of my watch list this season, even above Frieren. So let's just shut up and get into it. Undead Unluck is about a girl named Fuko. Fuko just finished reading her favorite manga and is now ready to kill herself. Why? Because she's cursed with bad luck. Anyone who touches her is doomed to be in an accident, which is usually fatal. Until a mysterious man pops up and saves her, meanwhile seemingly being killed in the process. However, his body is regenerating? Yes, this dude is not human, and is in fact an undead, which means he is immortal and can use his body as a weapon by detaching his limbs, flying through the air using his blood, and more. Fuko decides to give him the name Andy. Andy actually wants to permanently die, hence why he's teaming up with Fuko in the first place. He thinks her ability could put him down for good. And from what I hear, this show will actually have a good romance between Fuko and Andy, which I think is hilarious. The thought of an action show having a better romance than the actual romances this season is fucking hysterical. Of course, I recommend this show. It's fun, it has great animation, it has great characters, and has zombie like powers. What more could you want? Speaking of romances, we should have one more. Ah, here we go. Our dating story. The experienced you and the inexperienced me. This story follows Ryuto, who, after losing a bet, has to ask out his crush. His crush is Shirakawa, who is the most popular girl in school. Although he expected to be shot down, Shirakawa responds with the answer everyone wants to hear. I'm free now, so why not?
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
Even though these two live in completely different worlds, they begin relating to each other. Yeah, the plot isn't anything new. Unpopular kid somehow ends up dating the popular kid. It's pretty overplayed. Yet, despite that, I can't help but keep watching them. I've been seeing mixed feelings on this show. Some people love it for the relationship between the two. Some people hate it because they think Shirakawa is a slut and Ryuto is a nerd with zero confidence. Both of which I can't really argue with, but despite that, I'm leaning more on liking it. From the 3 episodes so far, I think it's a pretty cute show, with a kinda realistic dynamic of does this person actually like me? Which, to be fair, is warranted when your crush just straight up dates you because there's nothing else to do. By default, this is one of the best romances this season, since there's so little of them. And one of them will put you on a watch list, so. And the other one is the Peak Harem, which I guess could be considered a romance, but I don't really consider harems romances. Speaking of that show, let's get into it right now. The 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You is our fresh look at how far anime has progressed over the years. This show looks at other harems and spits in their faces. Rentaro is our typical loser high schooler who, despite asking out 100 girls, they all turned him down. So does he just give up and wallow in despair? No. He goes to a matchmaking shrine where he prays in hopes of finally getting a girlfriend. Much to his surprise, the god of the shrine actually appears, and being a bro that he is, hooks up Rentaro with 100 girls that he meets over the course of the series. We only meet 5 girls in this season, but in the manga, I guess it's up to 26. What's the catch? Well, if Rentaro picks an official girlfriend out of them, the rest of them will die horrible deaths. So Rentaro is forced to date all 100. Like I mentioned previously, I don't consider this a romance. However, I love it. This show is super fun. Sure, it's your standard brain dead anime humor, but I don't give a shit. I love it to bits anyways. This show will obviously not be everyone's cup of tea, but I recommend it to my hardcore anime losers out there. Remember in the very beginning of this video, I said nearly every show came out? Well, now I can officially say that every show is out because the last one just started airing a couple days ago. So, without further ado, let's get into the Apothecary Diaries. A show that doesn't actually take place in Japan, but instead in ancient China. We meet our main character, Mao Mao, who has been kidnapped and forced to work as a servant at the Emperor's palace. While she just plans on working until her years of servitude are over, Mao Mao overhears that the Emperor's children have fallen ill. She decides to secretly take action, and with her experience as a pharmacist, manages to save the children. Despite trying to remain anonymous, a man named Jinshi has noticed Mao Mao's talents. She soon finds herself in the Emperor's inner courts, where she gradually makes a name for herself with her knowledge and her eccentric personality to solve medical mysteries. This show is great. This is one of the shows that was also near the top of my list, and I was a bit bummed that it came out much later than the other shows. I mean, yeah, they released all 3 episodes on the same day, but we still had to wait the longest for them. I 100 recommend this show. It's entertaining, the characters are great, the animation and the visuals are beautiful. Everything about this show so far has been great. Returner's magic should be special. Let's just jump into this one. The world is finally ending after a long war in the Shadow Labyrinth. Desir Armin is one of the last powerful magicians left standing, but even he isn't strong enough to put his foe down for good. Just when he's certain he's about to meet his maker, he goes back in time, back to when he was a student at a magic academy. Now, with this rare second chance, Desir takes this opportunity to not only save himself but the friends and comrades he has lost. Ironically, this show isn't all that special. Another show about a dude who goes back to the past and tries to fix the future, meanwhile maintaining his overpowered abilities. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, how is this lowly commoner so strong?" I'm not a huge fan of this show, and I'm not entirely sure why I added it to my watch list either. It's incredibly generic, just our standard fantasy show. It's not terrible, it's just kinda samey, like you've already seen it before. But thankfully, with this show covered, it marks the last of the meh shows. Our last two are pretty good. So, let's cover them. The Vexations of a Shut-In Vampire Princess is about our MC Komari. Komari is our shut-in vampire who awakens to find out that she is now the commander of the Imperial Army. If that's not bad enough, her new unit consists of people who revolt against their superiors at any sign of weakness. Komari comes from a line of very powerful and prestigious vampires, though. So why is that a problem? Well, Komari is very weak and scrawny due to her refusal to drink blood. With the help of her new maid, Vilhaze, they deceive the army into believing that Komari is, strong. But how long will that last? I did not expect this show to be good. On the surface, it just seems like it'll be a cute villainous type show, but oh boy, this show gets pretty serious in terms of story. It's not just a haha weak vampire somehow becomes victorious show. It actually develops into a proper story with villains and the threat of actually being murdered. Would I say that this is one of the top shows this season? Probably not, but it damn well surprised me at how much better it is than some of them. Give yourselves a round of applause, folks. We've made it to the final show in this video. So without further ado, let's cover it. The Kingdoms of Ruin is our next hectic journey where humanity has flourished thanks to the power of magic from witches. However, despite witches aiding in mankind for so long, times have changed, and now technology has taken over. And humanity is trying to terminate every single witch so that they can liberate themselves from the blight of magic. Adonis was a young boy when the hunt began. He was an apprentice to a witch that he loved dearly named Chloe. Chloe was killed by the hands of the Empire, and now Adonis vows revenge against the Empire. With the power of magic, the Empire shall fall by his hand. This show is great. I haven't heard of this show until the day I've read the description, and at first I was like, oh, another revenge story. These are usually fun. Let's give it a shot. However, this ain't your redo of Hitler bullshit revenge story. This is a proper one full of shocking moments and a pretty damn good time. And that's it. We've reached the end of the video. And if you stuck around this long, thank you very much. Because I know that my voice isn't too exciting to listen to for especially this long, but I appreciate it. This is my first full-time video, and I'm still getting used to recording my voice and whatever, because I haven't really done anything like this before. So if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe and drop a like. And before this video ends completely, I also want to mention that I have no clue what I want to do on this channel. Obviously, anime is going to be one of the main things, but I don't want to just do that. I also like horror, so maybe I'll also cover horror movies or something. I don't know. If you guys want to give me any suggestions, then drop them in the comments, I guess. Well, that does it for me. Peace.